an interplanetary scale. I mean, there's really no reason to assume that these other beings are more ethical and more moral than we would be, just because they have more advanced technology.
Or that there's one bunch of them.
Or that there's one. It's been my feeling for a long time that we, humanity, are probably the greatest show in this quadrant of the galaxy right now.
Oh, yeah. It's like drive-in movies Saturday. Fly in and see what the crazy humans are doing again.
Well, yeah, the crazy and the maybe soon-to-be dangerous humans. Think about what we've done in 100 years. I mean, we've gone from horses pulling carts to automobiles, to radios, to airplanes, to atomic bombs, to computers, to intelligent computers, just about. And
space travel.
iPods, laser beam weapons, space travel, nanotechnology right around the corner, quantum computing. What is that even? It's a revolution, though, in computing capability. So we have reinvented ourselves, and we're not going to look the same way in another 50 years as a civilization than we did 100 years ago. So that doesn't mean that we'll be able to take these other aliens in a street fight, maybe, but I have a feeling that we might be a real pain in the neck to them. We may have that capability.
Let's talk about the keepers of the secret. If there is someone like that who would have those secrets to brief President-elect Obama or anyone else, who are they? I mean, you might assume it's the Pentagon, it's the CIA. Maybe it isn't.
I think that they are involved in keeping this secret, but I no longer believe that they are the ultimate power arbiters. I think that what has happened is that this secret has gone international, and I think a good model to keep in mind as to how this might work would be to look at take UFOs out of the picture and look at the power structure as has become very, very obvious now when you look at international groups such as the notorious Bilderberger Group.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these guys are real. The Bilderberger Group is simply a group of the most 200, 300 powerful people every year. They get an invitation only. They meet once a year at some place, some resort in the world, every year. They are more powerful than the G20 leaders, and the G20 leaders get huge amounts of press every time they meet, whenever. The Bilderbergers get zero. But you've got the world leaders of finance, industry, politics getting together in total secrecy to do what? Well, to discuss global matters, and then they go back to their spheres of private influence and they try to make those things happen. That's how they do it. It's not, no one ever convened the Bilderbergers. They convened themselves. They're not an officially established body, and yet they have enormous influence. Same with the Trilateral Commission. Okay, another model along those lines. So what I believe is the case is that the UFO secret also shows signs of having gone international in that sense, in a somewhat informal way.
And private.
Private, absolutely, yes. Private. I mean, private and government, a little bit of both. These people straddle all worlds. When you're at the very top of the power pyramid, I don't think that they make these distinctions necessarily. But yes, I think private power is key. I've done a lot of thinking on how the secret becomes privatized. Go back to the 1940s and pretend that you're the president, Harry Truman, and your military leaders inform you that they've recovered technology that appears to have come from a different civilization. All right, so this is what I think many of us think happened. Let's say that happened. Now, the U.S. government has this secret and these artifacts, but at a certain point, if you're going to make anything happen with these artifacts, you're going to have to, I think, hand them over to leaders of industry, because they're the guys who make this stuff for you, your defense contractors. They have the R&D personnel. They've got the know-how to figure out, what do we do with this thing that we can't quite replicate? Oh, wow, we can make high-tensile fibers, or we can do superconductivity. Or you come up with ideas, and I think this is what happened. At that point, we have to ask ourselves, who owns that technology? Is it the government? Is it Lockheed or General Electric? Or is there some kind of secret, covert legal arrangement that gives joint ownership? Don't know, but I think the secret becomes privatized. And to make the knowledge and the technology private helps with secrecy, because it takes it out of the realm of government. It takes it out of the realm of public responsiveness. Because at least in theory, the U.S. military even is supposed to be responsive to the U.S. public. But private industry does not have any such obligation. And so And when your own government is dominated by members of industry and finance, it's really an easy decision to make.
So it'd be the kind of thing where, okay, we've got a crash saucer, the Pentagon retrieves it, they cover it up, and then they hand it off to somebody, and when people ask them through FOIA or whatever, what saucer? What are you talking about? They wash their hands of it.
Right. Now, that doesn't mean that the military doesn't have possession of these things. I think that they do. There's a lot of evidence showing that when UFO artifacts go down, that our military is there, and they get this, and they may store it. But the question is who actually ends up owning it. That's the question. And I think that there's evidence that there are agencies, they may be secret government agencies we don't know about. I suspect that this is the case. For example, we have in our own country's history a long history of black agencies that eventually become outed, like the National Security Agency existed in total secrecy for a long time. The
NRO?
The NRO, even more so, for over 30 years without anyone even knowing its existence. I've talked with a number of individuals who lead me reason to believe that there's currently a large, significant black arm of government that is connected to the UFO issue. In other words, black arm meaning it does not officially exist. Certainly, I think it would be silly to think that the history of having secret agencies suddenly goes away in our own era. I mean, we had it in earlier years. Why not now? So I think that there's very probably secret government groups that are involved with this issue, but then who do they answer to is the real question. Do they answer to the president or some higher group, like a Majestic 12 type of group that exists on an international level? I think that's the case, and I think that they are on the model of like a Bilderberger type of organization. I mean, they may not be connected exactly to the Bilderbergers, although there may be crossover in membership. But, at that level, at the very top, these types of structures, I think, are a little less formal than, voting for your member of Congress, for example.
Are you saying this, you think this black arm exists based on interviews with people that you've had from the intelligence community?
Yes. A few select interviews that I've had have definitely brought me to that conclusion. For example, I spoke to one very senior, I don't even want to give away this person's branch of service at this point, but a senior officer who had many, many years of service, a high-level person, and was connected to this topic, the UFO topic, and just said to me that at one particular base there was data that was being collected from satellite and radar, primarily satellite, I believe, data that was tracking UFOs. No one would touch this area. You couldn't go there. But a couple of times a year, this group would come and they would download the data. No one had any idea who they were. They answered to nobody. They just went, took the stuff, and went off. Who knows where? Who knows who these guys were? No one knew. The implication that I got from this individual, though, in some other interviews, was that this seemed to be international, that they were beyond simply the authority of the U.S. president, that there were other authorities involved.
Have you heard the speculation, Richard, about, I think Stephen Bassett has come out with this a couple of times, that if Obama doesn't come out with disclosure, that some other government will, France or something like that?
I wonder. Yes, I mean, certainly it's a possibility. But again, I suspect that there are very, very important behind-the-scenes machinations involved here. And France and Britain both have initiated releases of some of their UFO data. I think some of that stuff is interesting, although I'm not as impressed by it as a lot of other people seem to be. I don't really believe that the British MOD files that were being shown seem to be of the highest levels of classification.
Exactly.
Ditto the French files.
Whoop-de-doo for all those files. I mean, it's nice to see them. It's nice to know that they admit that they had them, but not many big secrets in there. No. Stay with us for more of this fascinating interview with Richard Dolan, author of UFOs and the National Security State. We'll be right back with more Coast to Coast AM.